See, it's working already, Raul.
It is.
All right. Very generous. Thank you very much. This year's Wrappin' with Jack, presented by Helen's Money Team and our other very, very much appreciated partners in all of this, all of you at Safe Flight and State Farm. Raul, thank you. You're working really hard on this, and I appreciate it.
No problem. Anything we can do to help out. And I'd like to make a little plea. There's a lot of small commercial businesses in and around this area who can come by and drop off a toy, use that company fund, make a donation, and it'll help out a lot of children here in San Antonio.
Absolutely. In fact, the very first donation we had this morning, a man at a company called Sotax Dunwell Services made a $50 donation, wrote the check right then and there. So, yeah, if you're a small business, if you're out on the road, you're driving around listening to KTSA, you can swing by Northside Ford and make a donation in any amount to Wrappin' with Jack and Family Service Association. And again, either come in or we'll take it at curbside. Raul, thank you again. We'll talk to you a little bit later on.
Thank you, Jack.
All right, it's 11:13, Gang of Four on News Talk 550 KTSA. Let me reintroduce our gang, Robert Flemming, who will be feeding our volunteers from Magnolia Pancake House on Tuesday night.
If they leave hungry, it's their own darn fault.
There you go. No excuses. Ken Slavin, who is going to conserve his vocal powers until Tuesday night, leading an all-star lineup of musicians. Yes. And Ken, people always ask me when they haven't been to the event, well, what does he sing? Every Christmas song you want to hear this time of year.
I think so.
Ken hits them all.
And I try to add a couple of new ones every year, but sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not. But it's fun. You know, I even throw in hymns, not just non-sectarian songs, but some of the hymns.
And
as well.
I back him up on all those songs. I'm his backing vocal.
Yes, he is, and my backup dancer.
I'm his pip. All right, and Jade Esteban, Estrada, comedian appearing this week at the River Center Comedy Club, and a good guy who's always, if you have a good cause in San Antonio, you always find Jade right in the middle of it. So
sometimes with the boots and the boa.
I'm just trying to figure out either you wanted to get dressed up for us or you've got a lunch shift at some restaurant downtown.
I do have a lunch shift. At I have an interview at Magnolia. Maybe you can put in a good
You're
word.
way overdressed for us.
What do you? Just because he has chrome shoes on, Robert, don't jump to conclusions.
Doesn't everybody?
You got to go to security. His restaurant has security.
I almost wore that exact outfit today. All right. Look, let's talk about a story that hasn't been as big a headline, but I've been talking about it on my show. There was a survey that came out this week. It was an international standardized test given to students in, I think, 65 countries. The headline was, and this was math, science, and reading, I think, were the topic. So it's your basic standardized test. Let's see where everybody is. China, number one, by a huge margin. The United States, 23rd. Out of 65.
And we wonder why our manufacturing's gone overseas.
Countries. Now, people are going to say, well, here you go. This is proof. We got to spend more money on public education.
Right.
We need to build more schools.
But that's been the story
pass
for
the
40
bond
years.
Issues, pay the teachers more.
How much money is enough, Jack? How much have we spent
That's what
so
I want
far?
to know.
It's not about how much money. It's about the students. It's about the curriculum. It's about the administrators. And, folks, I hate to say it, it's about you and me, the parents.
At what point do you see this and you think more of the same just isn't going to be enough? You know, we're not a little behind. We finished out of the money here. Right. So at what point do people say, okay, we can't just keep doing the same thing or putting more money into the same thing? Isn't this instead of being a call for more taxpayer dollars to public education, isn't this a call for people to take back their children and take back their education? Isn't this the best argument you could make for vouchers and real school choice? I mean, when do we?
If people would pay attention, I don't know. People are so disengaged from everything, and I think we have had a mentality, at least since the 1960s, that throw more money at it, I've done my part, it'll be okay. But it isn't better. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. I don't know. I think there's a movement in the United States where some people are trying to take charge for their kids, but they're in the minority.
I mean, really, the control of the schools needs to be a local community thing. The federal government has zero.
And then you mentioned a thing about parents.
Yeah.
I know that the older I get, the more I think I'm starting to sound like a curmudgeon. But my parents monitored everything I did with school, and you got home and you had to do your homework. There was no hiding the report cards. There was no getting away with lower grades. I was monitored.
Well, a guy called our show whose son works in China, and his kids therefore go to school in China. He was saying that's the big factor, that the parents are incredibly involved. and they are in part because it's actually the government is sort of hovering over you, saying your kids better do well or else. In fact, Jade, one thing I think you can take away from this report, I pulled this off the internet from 2008. The underage Chinese gymnasts, the Chinese are pretty serious. Even when it's just an Olympic medal, which is purely symbolic, they cheated to make sure they won the gold medal. So probably they cooked the books a little bit in this competition.
Possibly, but the whole parent, making sure the parents are involved. I mean, when you have a child, your entire life changes, and it doesn't stop until that child walks out the door with the suitcases, to his own apartment, his or her.
No, dude,
and it's not just a legal thing. It's a moral thing.
No, I get what you're saying. But there should be some kind of responsibility that the parents have.
There has to be, and it's not just a legal responsibility, it's a moral responsibility.
Kind of look at it this way in a generational sense, okay? Your parents, my parents, your parents, his parents, they kind of said, what do you have for homework? Let me see the homework.
Right.
You want to look at homework? Now,
and sometimes there was the fear factor. If I didn't get an A, I was afraid that my parents would be mad at me.
But what I'm saying is that in the 30s, in the 40s, in the 50s, as America was growing and as our society was progressing, the parents were involved. We watched that. It was a focus for us, much like it is in China now. As their society changes and grows, it's probably a focus there, and of course the government as well. But what I'm saying is now, we just don't seem to be as engaged sometimes as parents because, there were times when my daughter would come home and I'd say, what's your homework? I don't have any homework today. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have any homework today? How can you not?
Right.
Well, of course, there are people who will argue, too, that, in the last 20 years, the rise up of the dual income families and the mother not in the home and both parents working, that people are more tired or they're not home at the time their kids get home. I understand
or
the latchkey kids. I understand.
Oh yeah, no, there's a number
but
of issues.
There's got to be a way to take control. And it cannot be the extreme of a China. That's no. That's not a freedom thing.
I'm wondering, Ken, if somehow there isn't a popular culture undercurrent that this stuff isn't so important. You know what I'm saying? We celebrate entertainers who are, frankly, ignorant.
I resemble that remark.
Yeah, I understand that. So do I. We celebrate.
Jade is not ignorant.
We celebrate people.
I'm not either.
You know what I'm talking about.
No, I totally understand.
And we celebrate this, and we celebrate this dumbing down of our psyche. And it
didn't happen overnight. It's gone on for a long time.
It starts off in preschool. I have a 4-year-old nephew, Isaac. He's in school, and he is just like my sister is a teacher too, so she's on top of everything he does. I was passing by a preschool or a elementary school, and I saw on their marquee principals tea or get together or something, and I thought to myself, again that kind of grand thought. How many parents actually take the time to go and meet their child's principal, to see the person who is in charge of their education?
I can tell you that on all those greenback nights, and I know Jack's wife's been there for many of them, it was always interesting. We always saw through middle school and high school the same parents all the time.
Right. And you see the progress of their children.
And those are the kids that I know because some of them were my daughter's friends.
Something with their
I
lives.
knew the parents anyways. Those kids have hit a home run.
You guys are really disappointing me. I thought we needed a new government program. I'm so disappointed.
We do.
We know what your parents.
That would be the outcome of this. You've let me down.
The problem.
Again, I'm the problem. I'm dumbing down your kids.
Because experts know better than us.
When we continue, the lightning round on Gang of Four and more from Northside Ford as you get ready for Tuesday night's Wrappin' with Jack, presented by Helen's Money Team with network funding. Don't forget, we're going to be here till 1 o'clock. We still need to see you, your bright, shining face, and your donation to Family Service Association. It's 11:22 on KTSA.